The one and only Quentin Tarantino talks about his chance to direct a Marvel film. As it turns out, he had a chance to do Luke Cage, although it would have been far removed from what we got considering this would have happened in the early 90s. So let's talk about what he says inspired him and why it didn't happen. So I think most of you are very well aware who Quentin Tarantino is. I don't think I need to explain that. Everybody's at least seen one of his movies, or if you haven't, you've at least heard of him. So again, there's not a whole lot I can say about the man other than Quentin Tarantino at one point talked about his love for comics. And most recently he sat down and kind of gave an interview in regards to his career, reflecting on it and looking back at everything. And one thing he wanted to talk about was Luke Cage. And as he revealed in the early 1990s, he was a huge fan of characters like the Heroes for Hire, like Luke Cage Power Man, like Shang-Chi, like Iron Fist. And this was something that he wanted to look at. And he originally wanted to make a film for Marvel. Now remember, Marvel in the 90s was a completely different beast. They were, as a matter of fact, not a beast at all. They were pretty much living week to week, seeing if they were going to survive at all. So he originally went in there and he was trying to really discuss what he wanted to do, but it came down to his friends talking him out of it, because it just wasn't something that he felt that he could do the way he wanted to. Now, obviously, again, different time for Marvel, different place, different mentality, so who knows what could have happened. Now, while he doesn't give us too many details, apparently he wanted to set his version of these characters in this Marvel universe in the 70s. So again, it would have been reminiscent of the comics, that were really popularizing the character at the time. And obviously, there's a lot of films from that time era that he could have drawn inspiration from. Famously, the blaxploitation movies, that type of vibe is something he says he would have gone for and put it into that superhero comic book movie format, which ultimately, I don't know how this would have worked, and would it be something that is top of his game, Quentin Tarantino, or would it have been something that was a lot more limiting and just kind of it fell through the cracks and ended up being terrible, like most of the early Marvel films up until, well, really Blade. So again, we'll never know, but it's interesting to see that, they could have gotten Tarantino at one point, but ultimately that didn't happen, and Luke Cage went on to have a successful 2-run season on Netflix.